So San Diego State season, it has come to an end. It was going to come to an end anyway tonight if they would have won, if they would have lost, because they were in the championship game. And that's where I want to start this is just being grateful that San Diego State got to this point. What a freaking season that was. And I'll definitely get to praising San Diego State here. Let's talk about the game here for a few minutes. San Diego State and UConn, obviously. Earlier tonight, UConn knocks off SDSU 76-59. It was only a 12-point game at halftime, and it could have been a 20-plus point game. I think the UConn coach was pretty pissed off that it wasn't a 20-plus point lead for UConn at halftime. That's how poor San Diego State was playing, especially offensively. They went a span of 11 minutes without making a field goal. I'm not counting free throws, obviously. 11 minutes. It went to 5 minutes, then to 8 minutes, then to 11 minutes. There was missed layups. I think one I remember from Darion Trammell, missed layup, and then UConn gets it. They go down the floor, and then there was like a between the legs backwards pass, and then a three, and that's where it was like, man, definitely not San Diego State's night. UConn is the better team. UConn, I mean, what I'm also going to remember from this game is Jaden Ledee. He was getting out physicaled, if that's a word or a phrase, out physicaled by UConn, by UConn's players. I mean, they have some serious size on that team. Sonogo, my goodness, is he huge. And then who was it? I think he was number 32 on their team. Gigantic. I mean, Mensa, a rope, he made those two guys look small. So they had serious size on that team, and they were getting rebounds. San Diego State never gave up. Never gave up. They were never going to give up, right? They made it this far. They were never going to stop. It was a double-digit game. UConn seemed like they had it all the way from the end of the near the end of the first half, where it was a double-digit game, and San Diego State just could not buy a shot. But San Diego State kept fighting, and they got it down to a 6-point game, 5-point game, and then I think they started shooting some threes, and that's where they started missing those threes, and then UConn would make free throws. You look at the field goal percentages, right? San Diego State, they shot 19 of 59 from the field tonight, 32.2%. UConn shot 43.4%, 23 of 53. 24 free throws made by UConn, 15 made by San Diego State. They shot much better percentage-wise compared to last game against FAU at the free throw line, 15 to 20. But UConn had a lot more free throw opportunities. You look at the rebounds, 40 rebounds for UConn, 34 for State, which I thought it was going to be much worse than that. State did not have a player go kind of off like Matt Bradley did last game in terms of like points wise. They didn't have a player score over 20 points in this game. Their leading scorer, was Keyshawn Johnson. And usually I don't think that's a very good sign if Keyshawn's the leading scorer. I mean, it's nothing against him, but Matt Bradley's San Diego State's best player. And he was limited to 8 points tonight. Did not make a three-pointer. San Diego State did not shoot well from three. 6 for 23 from three. When they needed those threes to fall, they didn't. And again, UConn, they just had the size on State. And Alabama had size, but it didn't feel like they really had the size on State, if you get what I'm saying. Like, San Diego State, they obviously beat Alabama, so it wasn't that big of a factor. But that was like the big question going in, at least from what I remember, was Alabama's size and Brandon Miller. And they obviously were able to limit Brandon Miller to not having a typical Brandon Miller game, right? With UConn here, though, their best players still were able to show up. Sonogo still had 17 points. Hawkins, Newton, 16 points, 19 points respectively. Not a lot of points contributions from guys off of the bench there, but they had 3 guys that almost got to 20 points. For San Diego State, they had 1 guy get to 14 points, and the other 2, Trammell, Butler, got to 13. Again, San Diego State, they fought, and I want that to be the focus, the takeaway from tonight. Obviously, the takeaway from this season was how incredible this season was, and I'm gonna get to that here in a second. Tonight, they kept fighting. They didn't give up. Was it their best shooting night? No. It seemed like they couldn't get anything to fall, in that first half where they went 11 minutes without scoring. It was infuriating, you know? Like, can they buy a basket? Please, can they make a basket? And they couldn't for a long period of time there. But it was only a 12-point game. I know 12 to say only 12 points doesn't seem totally right to do, but only 12 points. I mean, that's what we were saying at halftime. And they got it to a 5, 6 point game against a team that was the better team. They were the best team in this tournament. Sometimes the best team doesn't always win, but UConn, it felt like they were the best team. They rolled over Gonzaga. They blew them out, right? Wasn't close against Miami. You look going into this game, San Diego State's margin of victory was 2 points in their last 2 games against Creighton and FAU. Trammell had the free throws late against Creighton. Butler obviously had the shot against FAU. An unforgettable moment that I will never forget where I was, the shot for the rest of my life, right? And all of you probably will not forget that moment. UConn's margin was like, I think over 40 points. Could be wrong on that, but I think it was over 40 points. So they were blowing out teams. San Diego State, they had to really, really fight for some of those wins. And that fight continued into this game. And so I'm super proud of that. I couldn't be more proud of Brian Dutcher and the Aztecs coaching staff. There were some fans. I know they were disappointed at some times during the season when San Diego State was playing close games, or having huge leads and then winning close when it shouldn't have been close in some of the Mountain West games. But Mountain West Conference, some of those games are tough to go play on the road. Some fans thought, or they said on social media, like, San Diego State, they're not going to win a game. The way they're playing, they're not going to win a tournament game. I went into this tournament thinking if Dutch and the Aztecs, they can get a win over Charleston, that's a successful season because that's making progress. Because Brian Dutcher had not gotten his tournament win yet as the head coach. So I wanted to see progress from this team. Not in my wildest dreams was I expecting this team to go to the Final Four, to go to the national championship game, to beat the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. No way was I expecting that. I wasn't expecting San Diego State to be playing in a football stadium at the end of this thing. No, I thought maybe they'd get to the Sweet 16. That would be cool. They'd never won a Sweet 16 game entering this tournament in the program's history. Kawhi's team didn't do that. Xavier Thames' team didn't do that, right? But they did that. Obviously, had never won an Elite Eight game. They did that. Never won a Final Four game. Did that. And people can say, oh, well, look at some of the teams San Diego State played. Charleston, Furman, FAU. But those are haters. Those are people that are just trying to nitpick every little thing. But I'm sitting here just sitting back and being so freaking thankful for this run that San Diego State went on. And San Diego State couldn't control who they played. They played those opponents and they won those games. They played tough, hard defense. They won some of those games with Matt Bradley, their best player. I think we can agree on that. Not doing much offensively. I think that says a lot about the depth of this San Diego State team and the defense and their togetherness, right? And Aztecs fans showing up so big in Houston and just in the tournament. Shout out to San Diego State for chartering, I think, like 700 students to Houston for this game tonight. I don't know if they were there for the Final Four as well, probably, but the crowd was great. I saw the videos of Viejas Arena, the watch party earlier today, where before the game, like an hour before the game, the lines were wrapping around the buildings on campus. They they didn't have enough. I don't think they had enough seats for the amount of fans that showed up. So San Diego fans showed up for this San Diego State team. They showed up to support this team. And this tournament meant so much to the university, its future. I mean, there's no better time to do it than now, right? With the whole Pac-12 conversation. So San Diego State's getting into the Pac-12. It's just a matter of when. That's my feeling on that. It was my feeling on that before the tournament, but how can the Pac-12 presidents say no to San Diego State now? That would that would be a bad look on them. So this tournament run meant a lot for this program. I don't think Dutch is going to be recruiting differently. Maybe he gets better players, but San Diego State, it's not like they had bad players. They have some really tough players that don't give up. And as a San Diego State fan, someone that's going to be attending that university, that's the players that I want. I don't want players that are going to be one and done, don't play defense, give up. I don't want those players. I want the players that Brian Dutcher and the San Diego State coaching staff recruit. Those guys that want to be in this program. San Diego State probably have options to transfer out and want to stay here. Like that's the players that I would want. This program's in a really, really good spot. And again, I'm just super proud of this team, the way they fought, kept fighting all the way to the end. The wins earlier in the tournament against Charleston. I know Furman, they dominated, but those are some tough teams. Those are some tough teams. I know they weren't the biggest names, and I hadn't heard of those schools before the matchup, but I gained respect for them after that matchup had been played. And then they found a way to beat Alabama with great defense. They beat Creighton. They beat FAU. You know, this tournament, yeah, they didn't win it all. But obviously, they weren't expected to win it all. They weren't expected to get to the Elite Eight or the Final Four or definitely the championship game. And what I'm going to remember most about this tournament, obviously, was the Lamont Butler shot. And Dutch, I mean, I love how much he shines the light on the players, not on himself, not on the coaching staff. Or he shines the light on the coaching staff, but not on him specifically. He gives credit to everyone else but him. And I love that about a head coach, you know? Um, but that Lamont shot, like, just like Dutch says, or he has said previously, like, March is for players, and that was a player moment. The memories, right? I think March, right, there's only one winner, but I think there's a lot of schools, a lot of fans of schools that come out of the tournament, and they remember specific tournaments based on one moment. And that's the Lamont shot's not just going to go down as a San Diego State moment. That's going to go down as arguably the best moment in San Diego sports history. Definitely one of the best moments in San Diego sports history. That shot. That won them the Final Four game, their first one ever, and put them into the championship game. That shot is going to be remembered, probably, I would think, more than any other moment in this tournament. People might remember that UConn won this tournament, but are they going to remember anything specifically from this championship game? I don't really think so. They're going to remember the Lamont Butler game-winning shot that sent San Diego State to its first ever national championship game. And that's a moment that we're never going to forget. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the San Diego State team, for San Diego for showing up and supporting this team. I'm sure that there's a lot more San Diego State fans now than there were entering this tournament, because they just want to support San Diego sports, and San Diego State is part of San Diego sports. Maybe they don't have a connection to San Diego State, didn't go there, or they don't know a family member that goes there, but they showed up and supported San Diego State because they're a San Diego team, and San Diego bonds together. They are loyal. us fans are loyal to San Diego sports, right? And if you show the effort and you provide us with some entertaining product, we're gonna show up and we're gonna support. So I know I went all over the place in this reaction, but again, I'm just super proud. What a season, an unforgettable season. Agueka Rope, Nathan Mensah, Matt Bradley, Lamont Butler, Adam Seiko. I could go on with these players. We're not going to forget these players that were a part of this team. We're not going to forget these tournament moments. Not going to forget the Lamont Butler shot against New Mexico. That game winner. What a season. What a season. And who knows what comes next? This game did stink losing to UConn. It was really disappointing, obviously, to see that the team that shared the court with you tonight go celebrate instead of you. Because you don't know the next time San Diego State's going to be in this spot. They might not ever be in this spot again in the team's history. But they weren't expected to be in this spot, but they were in it, and I'm pretty dang proud of that. So that's my reaction. I know I probably repeated a ton of stuff in this. Thank you so much for watching this. I'll probably have more reaction as the days go on. But what a run. San Diego State, they made the city of San Diego, they made San Diego fans really, really proud.